Chosen one. Listen carefully and do not ignore what has been happening inside you lately, because something in your life no longer fits. And deep down, you already know it. The place that once felt familiar now feels heavy. The routines you once accepted now leave you exhausted. Things you tolerated for months, maybe even years, suddenly feel impossible to carry, and there is a thought that keeps returning no matter how hard you try to silence it. I cannot stay like this forever. You may have wondered why you feel restless when nothing obvious has changed, why you feel tired even after resting, or why your current environment suddenly feels too small for the person you are becoming. But hear this before you convince yourself that something is wrong with you. You may not be falling apart. You may be reaching the end of a season. Sometimes change does not begin when a new door opens. Sometimes it begins when you can no longer find peace behind the old one. Sometimes before your circumstances move, something inside you starts rejecting what you have outgrown. That is why you suddenly want to clear things out. Put your life in order, release what no longer belongs, and imagine yourself somewhere different. And for some of you, this may become much more literal than you expect, because this message is connected to your home, your environment, the peace you have been asking God for, and a transition that may begin taking shape around August. So do not leave yet, because I am going to show you why this restlessness may be happening, what signs you should pay attention to, why certain doors had to close before the right one could appear, and how to recognize the difference between a door you are forcing and a door you can walk through with wisdom and peace. If you have been feeling this shift already, comment, "I feel the shift," and like this video and subscribe, because what comes next may completely change the way you understand the season you are in right now. You have felt the pressure. You have felt what it is like to wake up tired before the day has even properly begun. You have carried responsibilities that other people never fully understood. You have smiled while questions were running through your mind. You have tried to remain grateful while quietly wondering how much longer you could keep living under the same weight. You have noticed that things you used to overlook now affect you differently. Noise feels louder. Disorder feels heavier. Instability drains you faster. Conversations that once satisfied you leave you empty. Situations you once excused now make something inside you say, "This cannot be permanent." You have noticed yourself wanting to clean things out, organize what has been neglected, throw away what no longer serves you, simplify your surroundings, and make room. You may even have caught yourself thinking more often about another home, another neighborhood, another city, another environment, another way of living, and then you wondered why. Why now? Why after all this time? Why does the place that once felt normal suddenly feel so difficult to remain in? Why can you no longer settle into circumstances you once convinced yourself were acceptable? You have also known the pain of waiting, and waiting becomes especially difficult when you can see other people moving. Someone announces a new home. Someone receives the opportunity you wanted. Someone begins a new chapter, while you are still praying over the same unanswered question. You celebrate them because you do not want bitterness in your heart. But if you are truthful, sometimes their movement reminds you of your stillness. Sometimes their celebration touches the part of you that has been asking, "When will it be my turn?" And the hardest part of waiting is not always the amount of time that passes. Sometimes the hardest part is watching life move around you while your own life seems frozen. You have prayed, you have tried, you have planned, you have hoped, and then another door closed. Another possibility disappeared. Another timeline changed. Another answer became not yet. Eventually, disappointment can become so familiar that you stop allowing yourself to become excited because you are afraid hope will hurt you again. Maybe there was a place you thought would become yours. Maybe there was an opportunity that seemed almost certain. Maybe the numbers nearly worked. Maybe a conversation made you believe movement was finally beginning, only for everything to stop. Maybe someone promised to help and then could not. Maybe your circumstances changed unexpectedly. Maybe you did everything you knew to do and still watched the door close. And perhaps you asked God questions you were afraid to say around other people. Why did you allow me to get this close if it was not going to happen? Why did I feel hope if I was only going to be disappointed? Why am I still here? Did I miss something? Did I misunderstand? Have I fallen behind? Is this ever going to change? But what if you have been reading the entire season only through the pain it caused you? What if some of what you called stagnation was also preparation? What if the delay forced you to develop discernment you did not have before? What if the closed door prevented you from entering something that looked right, but could not support the life you actually needed? What if losing one possibility created room for you to recognize another? This does not mean every painful thing was secretly good, and it does not mean every disappointment was directly arranged by God. Pain is still pain. Loss is still loss. But pain does not have to remain meaningless. God can redeem what hurt you. He can teach you through what disappointed you. He can bring wisdom out of seasons you would never willingly choose. You called it delay. God may have been using it as preparation. You called it rejection. God may have been using it as redirection. You called it loss. God may have been making room. You called it restlessness. God may have been awakening you to transition. You called it waiting. But perhaps the waiting was teaching you how to recognize what is right when it finally appears. Because there is something more dangerous than waiting for a door, becoming so desperate for movement that you walk through the wrong one. And maybe part of the mercy hidden inside your delay was that you were being taught not merely to ask for an open door, but to ask for the right door. Proverbs 3:56 says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight." There is a reason trust matters when understanding is incomplete. If you could see every consequence of every decision, trust would be easy. But there are seasons when you cannot understand why something did not happen. You cannot understand why one path disappeared. You cannot understand why the timing changed. And that is where faith becomes deeper than having every answer. Faith says, "I will still seek wisdom when I do not understand the delay. I will still prepare when I cannot see the outcome. I will still refuse to force what does not carry peace, simply because I am tired of waiting." And that brings us to something deeper. The right door may look very different from the doors you tried to force. The wrong door often demands panic. It tells you, decide now or you will lose everything. It pressures you to ignore warning signs. It makes you abandon wisdom because you are terrified there will never be another opportunity. But the right door can survive questions. It can survive prayer. It can survive honest numbers. It can survive wise counsel. It does not need you to become reckless in order to prove that you have faith. And if a new home becomes part of your next chapter, you do not need merely a door that opens. You need a door that leads somewhere your life can actually grow. Because maybe you thought you were praying for a house, but underneath that prayer was another prayer you did not know how to articulate. Maybe what your heart was really saying was, "God, give me somewhere I can breathe, somewhere you can wake up without immediately preparing for conflict. Somewhere your body does not remain tense because it expects something to go wrong. Somewhere silence does not feel threatening. Somewhere you can rest without guilt. Somewhere you can build routines instead of constantly reacting to emergencies. Somewhere the environment supports healing instead of repeatedly reopening the same wounds." That is why the house is only the beginning of the meaning. A house becomes stability. Stability creates room for peace. Peace creates room for healing. Healing creates room for restoration. Restoration gives you capacity to build again. And when your capacity changes, your entire season can change. You begin thinking differently. You make decisions differently. You protect your boundaries differently. You stop accepting chaos merely because chaos is familiar. You stop believing exhaustion is evidence that you are doing life correctly. You begin to understand that peace is not laziness, rest is not weakness, and stability is not something you have to apologize for wanting. Psalm 4:8 says, "In peace I will lie down and sleep. For you alone, Lord, make me dwell in safety." Think about how powerful that image really is, to lie down and sleep in peace, to dwell in safety, to close your eyes without mentally preparing for another battle. When you have lived under pressure for a long time, ordinary peace can become extraordinary. A quiet morning can feel like a gift. A locked door that protects healthy boundaries can feel like freedom. A table where you can sit without tension can feel like abundance. A bedroom where your body finally learns to rest can become part of your healing. So no, this message is not merely about acquiring property. The visible picture is a home, but the deeper promise is the possibility of building a life where peace has room to remain. And before we go further, I want to say something from my heart. Thank you for spending this time with me and for allowing these messages to become part of your journey. Creating and continuing this work takes time, care, and real resources. And if this channel has genuinely encouraged you and you would personally like to help us continue producing messages like this, you will find a support link below. There is absolutely no pressure to give, and please take care of your own needs and your family first. If financial support is not something you can or want to do, your prayers, your comments, and simply sharing a message that helped you already mean more than you know. Your presence here matters. Now stay with me, because the first evidence of transition is often far more ordinary than people expect. And one of these signs may explain something you have already been experiencing. The first thing you may notice is a sudden desire to release what you no longer need. You begin opening drawers you have ignored for months. You look at clothes you never wear, boxes you never open, possessions you have been carrying from season to season. And something inside you says, "Why am I still holding on to this?" You want less clutter. You want more order. You want room. Do not immediately turn that into a supernatural prediction. Sometimes cleaning is simply cleaning. But it can also reveal something important about your internal condition. You are becoming less willing to carry unnecessary weight, and that principle reaches far beyond physical possessions. You begin asking which fears you are still carrying, which resentments you are still storing, which relationships are taking up emotional space without producing anything healthy, and which old identities are occupying rooms inside you that belong to your future. The second thing you may notice is that your current environment becomes harder to ignore. Perhaps nothing about the room has changed, but you have. You suddenly notice how the noise affects you, how the disorder affects your concentration, how tension affects your sleep, how instability affects your ability to plan. This awareness is not necessarily a command to leave tomorrow. It is information. It tells you something about what you need in order to flourish. You cannot wisely choose a healthier environment until you become honest about what the current one has been doing to you. The third sign is that your desire begins becoming practical. You stop merely saying, "I wish I could move," and start asking, what would moving actually require? You look at your budget. You think about affordability. You research neighborhoods. You consider transportation, work, family responsibilities, paperwork, savings, deposits, repairs, and the details that dreams sometimes prefer to ignore. And this matters because desire becomes readiness when imagination accepts responsibility. Faith is not weakened when you look honestly at the numbers. Prayer does not become less spiritual when you organize paperwork. If you are asking God for a door, there is wisdom in becoming capable of walking through it responsibly. The fourth sign may be that conversations connected to housing or change begin catching your attention. Someone mentions a neighborhood. A friend tells you they are moving. You see a listing. You hear about an opportunity. Something that you would have ignored 6 months ago suddenly makes you pause. Then, Do not make every coincidence into a prophecy. Let it become an invitation to pay attention, ask questions, pray. Research. Sometimes the importance of an ordinary moment is not that it predicts your future, but that it awakens you to a possibility you were not taking seriously. The fifth sign is quieter but powerful. The old closed doors stop hurting as much. The opportunity you once thought you could never get over begins losing its emotional hold on you. You can finally look at something that did not work and say, maybe I do not need that door anymore. This is important because you cannot fully recognize a new direction while your heart is still demanding that an old path reopen. Detachment is not always defeat. Sometimes it is freedom. Sometimes healing looks like no longer needing yesterday to change in order for tomorrow to become possible. The sixth sign is that change itself begins feeling different before. The idea of moving or beginning again may have filled you with fear. Now there is still nervousness, but underneath the nervousness, there is possibility. You begin imagining something healthier without immediately telling yourself why it cannot happen. You allow yourself to picture a quieter room, a different routine, a safer environment, a life with more order. Fear may still speak, but it no longer gets the only vote. And the seventh sign is the one I want you to remember most carefully. An opportunity appears that does not merely excite you emotionally. It also survives wisdom. The numbers make sense. The details can be verified. The people involved are transparent. You can ask questions without being manipulated. You can seek counsel without being told that hesitation means you lack faith. You can pray without feeling forced into panic. It may not be perfect, but it is responsible enough to explore. That matters, because a sign should move you toward wisdom, not away from it. Do not let anyone convince you that reckless decisions are proof of spiritual courage. If a major financial commitment requires you to ignore reality, slow down. If someone uses fear to pressure you, slow down. If you are being told that you must act immediately or you will miss your blessing, slow down. God does not need panic in order to guide you. The right opportunity can survive honest questions. But here is where the message becomes even more personal. Because even when a healthy opportunity appears, you may still be tempted to reject it. Not because the opportunity is wrong, but because peace can feel unfamiliar when you have lived in survival mode for too long. You may have become extraordinarily good at functioning under pressure. You know how to solve problems when everything goes wrong. You know how to stretch what is not enough. You know how to carry responsibilities nobody sees. You know how to remain alert. You know how to anticipate conflict. You know how to protect yourself emotionally. You know how to survive chaos. And after enough years of living that way, chaos can begin to feel normal, while peace feels suspicious. So when something healthy appears, your mind may immediately search for the hidden danger. Why is this going smoothly? What am I missing? What if I trust this and lose it? What if I become hopeful and get hurt again? What if this peace is temporary? You may be standing in front of something good while your past is screaming at you to run. Hear this carefully. Do not confuse familiar with safe. Do not confuse struggle with faithfulness. Do not assume that because chaos trained you, chaos owns you. And do not reject peace simply because your nervous system has more experience with pressure. Colossians 3:15 says, "Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts." Peace is not the only consideration in a major life decision. You still need facts. You still need wisdom. You still need responsible financial judgment. You still need counsel. But peace matters. It is possible to make a wise decision without being driven by terror. It is possible to move carefully without moving fearfully. It is possible for the right door to feel quieter than every wrong door you chased before. And now I want you to imagine the moment. Not as a prediction you have to force into reality, but as a picture of what responsible hope could look like. Imagine an ordinary day. You are not expecting anything dramatic. Perhaps someone sends you a listing. Perhaps you receive a phone call. Perhaps a friend mentions a place. Perhaps you see something while searching and, for some reason, you stop scrolling. You look again. You read the details. You check the location. You look at the numbers. Something about it deserves a second look. You do not scream. This is it. You do not abandon wisdom. You pray. You ask questions. You investigate. You arrange a viewing. Then the door opens. You step inside for a moment. You say nothing. There is light coming through a window. Your footsteps sound different in an empty room. Perhaps there is nothing luxurious about it. Perhaps it is smaller than the dream you once imagined. Perhaps there are things that would need attention, but you are not looking for perfection anymore. You are looking for alignment. You walk into another room. You imagine waking up there. You imagine an ordinary morning. You imagine making coffee. You imagine sitting in silence. You imagine sleeping without the same tension. And a different question rises inside you. Not, will people be impressed by this? Not, does this prove I have finally made it? But could I build a peaceful, responsible life here? Maybe the recognition does not feel like adrenaline. Maybe it feels like clarity. Maybe the words inside you are simply, I should keep exploring this. And if a moment like that comes, it may help you understand something about the doors that did not open before. A closed door is not the same thing as a closed future. One lost opportunity is not proof that opportunity itself has abandoned you. One failed plan is not the final definition of your story. And sometimes the thing you wanted most would have required you to sacrifice the very peace you were actually praying for. There is something deeper still, because waiting can change a person in ways movement cannot. And before we return to August and the possibility of things beginning to align more quickly, you need to understand what the waiting may have built inside you. There is something deeper still, because waiting can change a person in ways movement cannot. And before we return to August and the possibility of things beginning to align more quickly, you need to understand what the waiting may have built inside you. Waiting may have sharpened your discernment. You know more now than you knew a year ago. You notice warning signs faster. You understand your own needs more clearly. You are less impressed by appearances. You are less willing to accept chaos simply because it arrives wrapped in opportunity. You know now that something can look attractive and still be wrong for you. You know that urgency is not always importance. You know that relief is not always peace. You know that having a door open is not enough if what waits behind it would only recreate the very pressure you have been trying to leave. And maybe that is part of why the waiting lasted longer than you wanted. Not because nothing was happening, but because something in you needed to become strong enough to choose differently when the moment finally came. Waiting may also have built patience. When you are desperate, almost anything can look like an answer. Desperation says, take it now, decide now, move now. Anything is better than this. But wisdom says, I want movement, but I do not want movement that creates a new prison. Maybe there was a time when you would have accepted any opening because you were exhausted. Maybe you would have said yes to a payment you could not sustain. A place that did not fit your real needs. A situation that looked like escape but carried hidden pressure. But now you are learning that movement without wisdom can become another form of captivity. So perhaps part of the delay was not merely keeping you from something. Perhaps it was teaching you how not to rush into the wrong thing. Waiting may also have built practical capacity. Maybe your financial situation has changed. Maybe your work has become more stable. Maybe you understand your responsibilities better. Maybe you have learned how to save, how to ask better questions, how to read the fine print, how to think beyond the excitement of a moment. Maybe you are more disciplined than you used to be. Maybe you are more honest with yourself. Maybe the version of you who wanted the answer a year ago was not yet ready to carry the responsibility that would come with it. That is not shame. That is growth. And waiting may have loosened your attachment to one specific picture. You once thought the answer had to look a certain way, a certain neighborhood, a certain size, a certain timeline. a certain person helping you, a certain path. But as time passed, something in you began to change. You started asking a better question: what do I truly need in order to live well? That question is more mature than, what would impress people? It is deeper than, what did I imagine years ago? Sometimes the form of the answer changes while the substance of the prayer remains the same. Habakkuk 2-3 says, "For the revelation awaits an appointed time, though it linger. Wait for it, it will certainly come and will not delay." Waiting is difficult because it makes time feel empty, but time is not always empty, just because results are invisible. A seed beneath the soil looks like nothing is happening. From above, there is silence. No visible growth, no proof. But beneath the surface, roots are forming, structure is developing. Preparation is happening before emergence, and maybe your season has felt exactly like that. Quiet on the outside, formative on the inside. The wait may not have been empty time. It may have been formative time, and when preparation finally meets opportunity, movement can happen faster than the long waiting season trained you to expect. Think about how quickly change can begin once the right pieces align. For months, nothing seems to happen. Then one conversation creates a connection. One connection leads to a listing. One listing leads to a viewing. One viewing leads to a serious discussion. One discussion leads to paperwork. Paperwork leads to a date. A date becomes a key. A key opens a door. And suddenly, something that felt impossible begins moving through a series of ordinary steps. That is why I want you to pay attention to ordinary details. Sometimes answered prayer does not look dramatic at first. Sometimes it looks like an email, a phone call, a conversation, a spreadsheet, a budget, a decision, a schedule that suddenly works. A person who has information you did not have before, a listing posted at the right time, a change in circumstances, a practical door that becomes possible because several small things finally line up. And for some of you, August may become meaningful in exactly that way. Not necessarily because one dramatic event happens on one dramatic day, but because movement begins. The first sign may not be a key. It may be clarity. It may be a conversation. It may be an application. It may be a decision to stop postponing something you already know needs attention. It may be the month you finally become serious about preparation. It may be the moment several pieces begin to connect. So do not stare at the calendar with anxiety. Do not wake up every morning asking, "Is today the day?" until expectation becomes pressure. Let August make you attentive, not frantic. Let it remind you to prepare, to pray, to look honestly at your situation, and to remain open to movement. Sometimes the greatest mistake is not failing to notice a miracle. Sometimes the greatest mistake is failing to notice a practical opportunity because you were expecting something more dramatic. You waited slowly. But movement may happen quickly. You prepared quietly, but the transition may become visible. You spent months asking why. One moment may eventually explain many of those months. And if your prayer right now is, "Lord, lead me to the right door," write this in the comments. Lead me clearly, not give me anything, not make me move because I am tired, not let me have what someone else has. Lead me clearly, lead me wisely, lead me peacefully. And before we go deeper, I want to pause once more and say thank you. If these messages have genuinely encouraged you, helped you process your season, or given you language for what you have been carrying, and if you are in a position where you truly want to support the work behind this channel, there is a support link below. Your support helps us continue creating and sharing messages like this. But there is absolutely no pressure to give. Please take care of yourself and your family first. If financial support is not possible for you, your prayers, your comments, and sharing this message with someone who needs encouragement are deeply meaningful too. Now stay with me, because the next part is where the house stops being just a picture and becomes something much deeper. Imagine the first night. The move is finished, or at least finished enough for the day. Boxes are still stacked against the wall. A lamp may be sitting on the floor because you have not decided where it belongs. There are things you still need to unpack. The room may not look beautiful yet. You may be exhausted. Your body may ache. You may have eaten something simple because the kitchen is not fully organized. Nothing about the moment looks impressive from the outside. Then eventually, the noise stops. The last box is put down. The last person leaves. The door closes, and for the first time, you are alone with the reality of where you are. You stand there in the quiet. You place the key on a counter. You look around, and memories begin to return. You remember the nights when you asked God how much longer you could carry the pressure. You remember the door that almost opened and then closed. You remember the disappointment that made you afraid to hope again. You remember calculating expenses late at night and wondering how anything could change. You remember looking at your current situation and feeling trapped. You remember watching other people move forward and asking whether your life would ever begin moving again. You remember praying with words. You remember praying without words. You remember the nights when all you could do was sit in silence because you were too tired to explain what you needed, and now you are standing somewhere different. Maybe the home is smaller than what you imagined years ago. Maybe it is not luxurious. Maybe there are still bills to pay and responsibilities to manage. Maybe the future is not suddenly perfect, but something feels different. The air feels lighter. Your chest is not as tight. Your mind is not preparing for conflict. You are not waiting for someone to start shouting. You are not listening for the next problem. You are just standing there. And maybe that is when the tears come. Not because the walls are beautiful, not because the address impresses anyone, not because you want to prove you are blessed, but because your body recognizes something your words struggle to describe. Relief. Deep relief. The kind of relief that makes you realize the greatest gift was never the square footage. It was the peace you thought you might never feel again. And that is the moment when the house stops being the promise and becomes evidence of something deeper. Because this was never only about having a different place to sleep. It was about stability after instability. It was about peace after pressure. It was about healing after exhaustion. It was about learning that your future does not have to reproduce the environment that wounded you. A bedroom can become more than a bedroom. It can become the place where sleep returns. A table can become more than furniture. It can become the place where gratitude grows, where conversations become healthier, where you eat without tension. A door can become more than an entrance. It can become a boundary that protects peace. A window can become more than glass. It can remind you every morning that light still enters after dark seasons. A key can become more than access. It can become a reminder that what you receive also requires stewardship, and this is where the deeper promise becomes clear. The blessing is not that you escape one address and enter another. The deeper blessing is that the old atmosphere no longer gets to define the life you build next. Because a new house cannot create a new life if you fill every room with old fear. You can move and still live mentally in the place you left. You can receive something good and spend every day expecting to lose it. You can finally experience quiet and still feel unsafe, because your body learned to associate peace with the calm before a storm. You can have new surroundings and still carry the same internal chaos. So perhaps the next part of your journey is not only receiving peace, it is learning how to protect it. That means you may have to build differently. You may have to say no to people, patterns and habits that turn every environment into chaos. You may have to create routines that support your well-being. You may have to learn to rest without guilt. You may have to stop overspending simply to make the home look impressive. You may have to stop comparing what you have with what someone else has. You may have to learn that a peaceful life does not need to perform itself for strangers. Do not destroy your peace trying to prove your blessing. You do not need to furnish the entire future in 1 week. You do not need every room to look perfect. You do not need people online to envy your life. You do not need to turn your answer into a competition. Let it become yours slowly. Let it become peaceful before it becomes impressive. Let it become safe before it becomes stylish. Let it become sustainable before it becomes something you show off. Because some of the holiest moments in your next season may look completely ordinary. Paying the bill, making the bed, cooking dinner, sitting in silence, sleeping through the night, opening the window in the morning, inviting people into your home who respect the peace you worked so hard to build, closing the door when you need rest, saying no when something threatens the stability of the life you are creating. These sound like small things until you have lived in a season where small peace felt impossible. Then you understand. A quiet breakfast can feel like a miracle. A full night of sleep can feel like restoration. A room where no one is arguing can feel sacred. A door you are allowed to close can feel like freedom. A table where you can sit without tension can feel like abundance. And that is why I keep bringing you back to peace. The house is visible. Peace is the deeper theme. Isaiah 43 to 1819 says, "Forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it?" This does not mean you pretend the past never happened. It does not mean you deny what hurt. It means the past does not get exclusive authority over what you believe is possible next. You can remember what happened without assuming it must happen again. You can honor what you survived without building your identity around survival. And this is where we return to the very first feeling you had before you could explain it. Something no longer fit. Something about the old environment felt too heavy. Something inside you began saying, "I cannot stay like this forever." Maybe now you understand why that feeling mattered. Perhaps the discomfort was not telling you to panic. Perhaps it was inviting you to prepare, chosen one. This was never only about changing your address. The house was the visible picture. The deeper transformation was becoming someone who no longer believes that survival is the only life available to them. A new home is not merely a place to live. In this message, it represents the possibility of peace after pressure, stability after uncertainty, healing after exhaustion, and a new season after waiting. It represents the moment when you stop defining yourself only by what you endured. It represents the moment when you begin asking a different question. Not, "How do I survive this?" but, "What kind of life am I ready to build now?" You were shaped by what happened, but you do not have to be imprisoned by it. You learned how to survive, but now you can learn how to live. You learned how to endure chaos, but now you can learn how to protect peace. You learned how to keep going when doors closed, but now you can learn how to recognize a door worth walking through. You learned how to wait, but waiting is not your identity. You learned how to lose, but loss is not your inheritance. You learned how to carry pressure, but pressure does not have to become your permanent atmosphere. And if that is the kind of life you are praying to build, write this in the comments. I am ready for the right door. Not any door. Not the fastest door. Not the most impressive door. The right door. The one that can be entered with prayer, wisdom, responsibility, clarity, and peace. And now I want to pray for you, not merely that a door opens, but that the right door opens. Not merely that you move, but that you move wisely. Not merely that you receive something you want, but that you recognize what is healthy, sustainable, and aligned with the life you are trying to build. Heavenly Father, I lift up the person listening to this message right now. You know their story in ways no human voice ever could. You know the nights they could not sleep. You know the pressure they never explained. You know the disappointments they carried quietly. You know the doors they prayed over. You know the moments when they wondered whether anything would ever change. You know the places where they became strong because they had no other choice. And you know the places where that strength has become exhaustion. Father, heal what the previous season wounded. Heal the part of them that flinches when life becomes quiet. Heal the part that expects disappointment before anything has even happened. Heal the part that feels guilty for wanting peace. Heal the part that believes struggle is the only environment where they know how to function, where fear has been speaking loudly. Establish peace. Where anxiety has been writing the future before the future arrives. Bring their thoughts back into order. Where old disappointment has taught them to expect failure, remind them that yesterday does not have authority over every tomorrow. Give them discernment. Do not let desperation choose their next door. Do not let loneliness choose their next door. Do not let comparison choose their next door. Do not let exhaustion convince them that every exit is deliverance. Give them wisdom that is patient enough to ask questions, strong enough to walk away when something is wrong, and courageous enough to move when something is right. Give them practical wisdom. If a move is ahead, help them prepare responsibly. Give them discipline with money. Give them patience with paperwork. Give them clarity about what they can afford. Protect them from making decisions for appearance, ego, comparison, or fear. Surround them with wise people who care more about their long-term peace than their short-term excitement. Close every door that would lead them backward. If something looks attractive but carries hidden instability, let truth come to the surface. If something would recreate the very pressure they are trying to leave, give them courage to say no. If an opportunity requires them to betray wisdom just to move faster, slow them down. And open what is right at the right time. Where waiting has completed its work, give them courage to move. Where preparation is still needed, give them patience without despair. Where they have confused stillness with abandonment, remind them that silence is not the same as absence. If August becomes a meaningful threshold in their journey, whether through a literal move, a conversation, a decision, an opportunity, or the beginning of a process, let them recognize what deserves their attention. Let them move without panic. Let them wait without hopelessness. Let them choose without fear. Let faith and wisdom stand together in every decision. And Father, if a new home is part of what you are leading them toward, let it become more than an address. Let it become a place where peace can grow. Let it become a place of order, rest, prayer, healing, laughter, wise stewardship, healthy relationships, and new beginnings. Let the bedroom become a place where sleep returns. Let the table become a place where gratitude grows. Let the windows remind them that light still enters after dark seasons. Let the door remind them that healthy boundaries can protect peace. Let the key remind them that every gift carries responsibility. Let the silence remind them that calm does not have to mean danger. Let them walk through the right door without carrying every old fear behind them. Let them remember the past without allowing the past to design the future. Where they once said, "I am stuck," teach them to say, "I am preparing." Where they once said, "Nothing is changing," help them notice what is changing inside them. Where they once said, "I missed my chance," remind them that one missed opportunity does not mean the future is closed. Where they once said, "I will always live this way," give them permission to imagine a healthier life. Where they once lived in survival mode, teach them how to receive peace without sabotaging it. Let fear become peace. Let confusion become clarity. Let waiting produce wisdom. Let the wrong doors remain closed. Let the right door become clear. Let instability give way to stability. Let the old season release its grip, and let the season that taught them how to survive give way to a season in which they finally learn how to live. In Jesus' name, Amen. And if this prayer reflects what is in your heart, Write Amen, lead me to the right door in the comments. Let that declaration remind you of what this entire message has been about. Not forcing a prediction, not chasing every sign, not becoming anxious about a date, but becoming ready, becoming wiser, becoming more peaceful, becoming more honest about what you need, becoming less willing to accept environments that destroy the life you are trying to build. And if these messages have become meaningful to you and you genuinely want to help us continue creating them, you will find a support link below. There is no obligation at all, and please care for your own needs and your family first. If you cannot or do not wish to give financially, your prayers, your comments, your likes, and sharing these messages with others are also deeply appreciated. Thank you simply for being here and for walking through this message with me. Now remember how we began. Something no longer felt like home. Maybe that feeling was not telling you to panic. Maybe it was telling you to prepare. Prepare your heart. Prepare your thinking. Prepare practically. Bring order where you can. Save what you can. Research what you need to understand. Release what no longer belongs. Stop demanding that old doors reopen. Stop letting comparison decide your timeline. Stop allowing fear to call itself discernment. Pray deeply. Plan honestly. Move carefully. And when the right door appears, do not let desperation push you through it, but do not let yesterday's wounds keep you standing outside it either. Because maybe the house was never only about walls and windows. Maybe it was about what those walls would protect. Maybe the key was never only about access. Maybe it was about responsibility, possibility, and a new beginning. Maybe the door was never only about leaving somewhere old. Maybe it was about becoming ready for somewhere new. And maybe one day, on an ordinary evening, you will sit quietly inside a place you once could only imagine. The lights will be low. The room will be still. Nothing dramatic will be happening, and you will look around at the life slowly unfolding there and realize that what moves you most is not what you gained. It is what you no longer have to carry, the constant tension, the old fear, the expectation that something bad is always about to happen, the belief that nothing would ever change, the need to survive every day as though peace were impossible. And in that moment, perhaps you will finally understand why peace was the promise hiding underneath the picture all along. Chosen one, prepare wisely, pray deeply, stay grounded. Do not chase every open door, and do not worship every closed one. Let wisdom guide your preparation. Let peace help govern your decisions. Let faith keep hope alive without forcing what is not ready. May your next door be marked by clarity. May your next decision be marked by wisdom. May your next season be marked by peace. And if a new home becomes part of that journey, may you never forget what it truly represented. Not status, not comparison, not proof that you are more favored than someone else, but a place to breathe, a place to heal, a place to rebuild, a place to pray, a place to rest, a place to become, a place where the person who spent so long surviving finally begins learning how to live. If this message strengthened you, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who is standing between an old season and a new beginning. And one final time, write in the comments, "I am ready for the right door." Then take one wise step. Your story is still moving.